All right, Jacob Cordero here with NoTakeout.com, where we teach you how to bring your favorite dishes from your restaurants, fast food joints, right to your home. Welcome into my kitchen. We'll be doing Carnitas tacos in an Instapot today to speed up the process of an awesome dish that's usually slow cooked for 8 to 10 hours. So what we have here is a 6-pound pork butt. Usually this recipe is set up for about a 5-pound pork butt, but usually with the bone in here, I give about a pound for something like that. So you can pick up anything from like pork butt, pork shoulder, sometimes they call them Boston butts. It's basically the same thing. It's right above the shoulder on the pig. I like to use the pork butt here because it's a little bit more fatty. And one of the keys to great carnitas tacos is fat. So we want to definitely leave the fat on. And what we're going to end up doing is cubing the meat in about 4-inch cubes. So real big, thick cubes here. And like I said, we're leaving that fat on there. Okay. And then we're going to take this and we're going to shortcut it by using the Instapot. So carnitas tacos are basically the same version of pulled pork. So it's one of those things where, you know, you smoke a pork butt for 8 to 10 hours, you invite friends and family over, and you guys just sit around and gouge yourself on pork. So here we have our cubes. And then instead of browning it in the Instapot, because I know it, you know, the Instapot says, you know, you can brown meats in there. I find it to just steam and stew more than it browns. So I'm going to be using the cast iron behind me that I've got heating up with a little bit of lard, or in Spanish we call it manteca. And so we're going to brown all this evenly, probably about a total of maybe 2 batches. And it should take maybe about 10 minutes per batch to get them browned on all sides. And then we'll drop them into the Instapot, and maybe we'll deglaze the pan with some orange juice or something just to get some of those flavors back into the pot here. So let's go ahead and we're going to start our browning. And while we do that, we're going to start blending in all of our basically our base juices, which is going to consist of, the number 1 key is orange juice. And we're going to put in some beef broth just to give it a little extra flavor since we're kind of shortcutting the long cook here. And then we're going to add Mexican oregano. This is the good stuff here. You want to make sure that when you're doing this, you're using the Mexican oregano, not regular oregano. That's one of the keys to the flavor and the authenticity of the carnitas. And then the orange juice, we'll chop up a white onion, and we'll blend that all in there. So let's go ahead and get to browning the meat here. Okay, we're getting ready to brown the meat. So we've got about a medium high here. And we just want to make sure that when we're browning anything, we don't want to crowd the pan. So while it might take an extra 10 minutes to get this part done, being that we're going to do this probably in 2 batches, it's well worth it because you're going to get that nice crust on the outside. And we want to add a little bit of salt. We're going to be adding more salt into our juice blend. So we don't want to oversalt the meat at this point. So typically it's about a teaspoon per pound of meat. We're going to do about half of that. And of course I'm just winging it here, but I know that we have a good amount of salt in that mixture, so I don't want to oversalt this. And we just want to let that sit. We don't want to be moving it around too much. We'll be turning it and flipping it probably once every minute, minute and a half or so. And that way we can make sure that we're getting a nice brown crust on the outside of this thing. And then let's just take a peek, see if we're getting the browning that we want. Okay, that's a nice piece of fat under there. Again, that fat's going to be really one of the keys to making these nice, juicy, fatty carnitas tacos. Okay, let's take another peek, see what our browning's looking like. That's pretty good. I'm going to give it about another 20 seconds and then start flipping all these over. And then while we allow this to brown, we'll go ahead and start making the blend. Okay, so I've already pre-chopped most of what we need. The base to our juice here is going to be orange juice. So that's fresh squeezed, about a cup of orange juice. And then this is going to be our mixture of beef broth and water. This will just kind of be something to make sure that we've got enough juice in the pot to go ahead and allow this stuff to simmer. I did add a little bit of milk, maybe 3 tablespoons of milk in there. So we've got that going. And then this is going to be all of the nice little herbs. We got oregano, we've got a little bit of cloves, and one of the keys to any Mexican dish is cumin. So we got just about a hint of cumin, not even like maybe a 1/4 teaspoon of that in there. And then we're going to want to chop up maybe about a 1/2 onion to throw it in there, and add in about 4 garlic cloves in there as well. So one of the things about Carnitas Tacos here in Phoenix is we're only about 2 hours from the border. So we go sometimes just drive and find a taco stand. And most of the time what you'll find is that at the taco stands, you'll have taco stands that do carnitas, some that just do chicken, some that just do steak. And so what you're looking for in a good taco stand is one of the ones that just specifically does carnitas, because they'll let it stew for about a day, half day, you know, and you know that you're going to be getting an authentic product that way. So let's go ahead and now let me go ahead and flip the meat that we've got browning. And I gotta grab this garlic because we gotta add that in. And so we'll add in our fresh garlic there, and we'll give this a nice blend until it's basically a pureed, smooth liquid. Okay, let's take a look. Looks pretty good. So that there is our lovely juices. That's gonna make an authentic tasting carnitas taco. Okay, and so then while we have our meat browning, we want to start getting our Instapot preheated, because we'll be adding in the meat as it's browned into here. And we can also go ahead and just start adding in our juice from our blend there. So now we can see we're starting to get a nice simmer going there. Just for good measure, especially because we didn't brine the meat, I'm going to add a little lime juice to help break it down a little bit. The orange juice does a good job of that, but I like the flavor of lime juice, and it's really acidic, so that's going to help us out. And then we'll drop in 2 bay leaves. That's another thing that's going to help with some flavor, as well as some authentic taste for the carnitas. There we go, for good measure. And I want to do some orange zest, just because the carnitas are really about that orange flavor. So I'm going to zest maybe, I don't know, like 7 peels of orange. So maybe like 2 oranges or an orange. And just add that zest in there as we're simmering, right before I add that last batch of meat into there. And this is just really great that we're looking at a dish that used to take 8 hours prior to the Instapot, and now we can actually do it in about 1 hour and 40 minutes between the venting time and the time it takes to depressurize. So, and again, if you wanted to do less pork, you would probably only have to do 1 round of browning, so that would save you about 10 minutes as well. And then while this cooks, we're gonna make up some margaritas and get our toppings ready. And that way, as soon as it's done and depressurized, we can feast. That's one of the great things about tacos, is you can pretty much add whatever toppings you want. In this case, we're gonna try to stay pretty authentic, so maybe like some pickled jalapenos and some red onion and a little bit of cilantro. But I love pickles on mine, which is a little bit unique, but not that different, since you'll pickle your onions, you can pickle jalapenos, and you'll find that thrown into a lot of these dishes. Okay, we've got our meat ready. So I'm gonna dump this in there with the lard and everything. Just add that into our pot that's already simmering nicely. And then I'm gonna come back over to the stove and we're gonna deglaze the pan with, well, whatever you got. So in this case, I'm gonna go with some tequila, stand back. But you can use water or orange juice, anything you got. Scrape up some of that and let that alcohol cook off just a tad. And then we'll add that right into our mixture. That way we don't miss any of these little flavor bits, because again, typically you want to do your browning in the same dish, but I just don't like the way that the Instapot is. Okay, so now we got that. Let's make sure that we've got enough liquid in here to cover all of the meat. You basically want that liquid right about at the top. So if you need to add a little more, like looks like we do, just gonna add some beef broth in there. Just like that. And then we're gonna do one extra step at the end of this that you don't actually need to do, but I think it's important for carnitas tacos, is once this comes out, it's not gonna have a real crisp to it like you're used to with your carnitas tacos. That's a very traditional thing. So we're gonna take the meat and we're gonna throw it on like a cooking tray, maybe hit it with a broiler, or even do it like on the flat top griddle, and just get it a little bit crispy as we serve it. So instead of crisping all the meat at once, typically what I do is just crisp the stuff that I'm gonna serve. So if it's just maybe my wife and I for dinner, I'm just going to take off enough just for maybe like 4 to 6 tacos and crisp that, and then leave the rest so that I can make something else later with the meat. All right, so now we've got our Instapot ready to go. Let's go ahead and get it back on. I did turn it off because it was simmering pretty high since I had it set on a pressure cook there. So we're gonna do about a 45-minute, 50-minute setting on high for this. And so we'll set that up. And you can't overcook this stuff. That's the nice thing about it. The more you cook it, actually, the more it falls apart. So I'm just gonna go, for a good measure, I'm gonna go with 1 hour on this. And I think that the Instapot tells you can probably do this in 45 minutes, but a lot of times I find that that's kind of undershooting where you wanna be. So we're just gonna go ahead and set that up, and we're gonna get our fixings ready, make some margaritas, and then come back and try out these carnitas tacos. Okay, we're back from our hour of Instapot cooking, and it vented for about 10 minutes to depressurize. So let's see what we've got. Oh, looking delicious. Let's grab this. And so this is that extra step that I said is not necessary, but if you want true, authentic carnitas tacos, in my opinion, it's gotta have that crisp. So we're gonna get this on here, break it up a little bit, and throw it in the broiler for 5 to 10 minutes until we start to see that crisp. So I just like to pull out just enough for dinner for the tacos that I'm gonna make. But obviously carnitas is about guests, family, and friends. So hopefully you've got a lot of people over ready to eat. And you'd likely do this for all of the meat to serve as authentic carnitas tacos. Break it up just a little bit here. That way we get a lot of edges for crisping, and nice, crisp, crunchy edges. Okay, boy, that looks good. All right, so we're gonna throw this in the broiler and then I'll bring that right back out. Okay, we've got our carnitas in the broiler, getting nice and crisp. So it's about time to get our tortillas ready. I like to give a little light coat of oil down so we can warm up our tortillas. Got some nice fresh corn tortillas here. We've got about 2 or 3 minutes left on the broiler. Okay, right out of the broiler, there we are. Nice and crisp. That was about 7-8 minutes on the broiler at like 525. And we're ready to make our authentic tacos. Here we go. Just gonna grab a tortilla. And the best thing about this stuff is you can just eat it on the go. You can eat it on a paper plate, however you'd like. And some nice fatty pieces on there. That's for the extra flavor. Healthy as well. Maybe not so much healthy. And usually it's just kind of like the pickled jalapenos that you'd throw on there, a little cilantro. In my case, I like to go cilantro, a little bit of lime, and some red chili majacate salsa. There we go. And of course, again, tacos are nice because you could pretty much add anything you want to them. It's the beauty of tacos. Little red onion there. Let's see what we've got. Gooey, crispy. It's got that citric flavor from the orange. Absolutely delicious. Well, we're gonna dig in. This has been street tacos, carnita style, in the Instapot in under 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I hope you enjoy. Invite family and friends over, and we'll see you next time.